looking at how we can avoid it or how we can manage these references better, a top-down design technique is better. In the cases that I've shown there, what I've really been showing is what we're trying to do is take some geometry that exists maybe at a higher level and then have that affect multiple parts. You know, lots of examples of that, but let's say we've got we're needing to design a gasket that's a direct offset of the surfaces that it's joining together. We wouldn't want to recreate the surface that we've got already, and also if that surface changes, we would want it to update. So certainly we could design that. Top-down design is probably the best way to do it, but there are, as we saw, there are the other workaround methods that aren't available necessarily without the advanced assembly license. Okay, so with the advanced assembly license, we do get options to include things like skeletons, which is effectively, it's a very high level sketch that exists in its own part file. Copy and publish geometry, which is used to share references directly between parts rather than trying to do all of that ad hoc at the assembly level. And there's also some other functionality called Notebook, which we can talk about later. It's basically like a spreadsheet, effectively like, it's not Excel, but it's like we have a high level drawing which has got a table in it, sort of like a spreadsheet, and we drive everything from that, which then pushes everything down to the lower levels. Okay, and we've got another webinar coming up for that in about a week or so, 2 weeks maybe. Okay, so a bit of a summary. Circular references can cause instability. Sometimes, as we saw just a moment ago, may not do anything really. Obviously, there are tools that we can use, of course, to detect those circular references. So we saw the reference viewer, we also saw the circular reference file. And yeah, of course, try and reference stable geometry where you can. So those features that exist early on in the feature tree for other models. And yeah, try and think logically about how you're going to link things together. The ad hoc approach and, you know, just get the job done quickly is never the right approach. There's the right way and there's the quick way, and those two things are not the same. So, all right. So that brings me to, it looks like we're way ahead of time, but sorry about that, guys. There's only so, I think we probably scheduled the webinar for too long. But Alan, have you got any questions there?
Had a couple while you were going through. A couple of them actually were sort of asking questions around when you talked about referencing inside a part, and then sort of talking about, well, doesn't that limit top-down design and stuff? And I did say that that's going to be on, pardon me, that's going to be on top-down design, which we're covering in the next webinar, which then you got to as well. So, so we kind of answered that. I've got one question, probably more functionality specific. So somebody said, I'm running Creo 8. Is there anything in newer Creos related to this that helps troubleshoot this kind of stuff?
Yeah, look, possibly with respect, did you remember seeing the reference, like the pop-ups that came with the notification center? I would have to check back whether that was there in Creo 8 or not. However, this sort of stuff, with generally speaking with circular references, has been around as long as I've been dealing with Creo. That's a couple of decades now. So certainly something that you need to be aware of. And yeah, the CRC file is certainly something that's always there. And I think the reference viewer is getting better and better as we go over the years. I'm not too sure about the difference between Creo 8 and Creo 11, which is what I showed today. Yeah, but.
Yep. All right, no worries. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the CRC file's been there since, well, I'll say forever as long as I've been using it, which started back in like release 18. So yeah, it's always had the CRC files. And that's always been the thing to check. And yeah, as you said, Ben, they've kind of been adding in additional stuff inside the reference viewer, and like you said, also the notification center. That's really, PC's been moving that way for a while to sort of relay that information through the UI rather than text files, but they're still keeping the text files there because obviously, as you saw, there's a lot of information there as well. Okay. This question I did answer, but someone might have just missed it in when you were showing some stuff, because the CRC file, the example, Ben, that you had, it had ID numbers and stuff in there, right? And they're asking how do you see that information? I know you have that in your model tree. Do you maybe want
Well,
to
I
just
can
show?
I can quickly show that. Yeah.
Yeah, how you add those
Um,
additional fields in there.
yeah. So I mean, this depends on what version of Creo you're using and how this looks. But underneath here, there's normally something called tree columns. You just hover over that. Okay. You select that, and then you choose whatever items you want to show. Now, there's a number of different categories, whether it's model parameters, which are tools parameters basically, or other stuff. And in this case, it's information, and you can see like feature number, feature ID. Let's just push them back to the left. You can see feature ID goes there, and feature number goes there. So these are under the info columns. If I'm to go OK now, then feature ID and so forth disappears for me. Okay, so obviously to add them back, it's just, you can just basically, add those two in, and now they're back.
Yep. So definitely, yeah, helpful when if you're looking at the CRC file and trying to troubleshoot chase stuff, you want to have those columns shown in your model tree. Okay. Which is what Ben sort of showed a little bit of. Okay. Somebody's asking, this might be maybe one to take offline, Ben, but I'll throw it out anyway. About understanding the reference viewer a bit more, like how you get the information from the reference viewer itself.
Yeah, look, sure, certainly we could probably
It's
take it offline,
yeah,
but
it's used for, I guess it's used for a lot of things, not just tracing CRCs, right? It's any
yeah,
kind of references, right? And I
yeah,
guess that's one of the big things.
yeah. I mean, if we just open up this part file that's got one feature, and then maybe what we do is we put a quick round on an edge, right? So now we have a child and a parent. If we can, an easy way to access this is right click, information, reference viewer. You can go through the menus if you like, but that's there. Okay, and so because I selected that feature, this is a feature that's shown current. If I show it as references rather than dependencies, you can see now that that edge shown here, as I highlight it, as you can see, as I highlight it in this reference viewer, it highlights on screen. We can do that. Now, what we can also do is then take that and say, set that as a current. So that'll put it in the middle. And then we can start to see, okay, this feature here has got these children, and so on and so forth. And we can take an assembly apart as well, by saying, okay, what's the assembly constraints on this one and which ones did it refer to, but also, things like copy, geometries and things like that, we can figure out where they, what's the source of them and so forth. So there probably are some other, resources on YouTube already, I would say, about this stuff, but certainly we can, any other direct questions or sessions are required, we can talk about.